Welcome to the Own It Powercast, the place to be when you get serious about making big changes and accelerating growth in your life and in your relationships. Finally create the life you've always wanted, living life on your own terms. Learn how to take your fear and turn it into powerful choices that will create sustained change. Now your host, Mary Baker.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Own It Powercast, the place to come to get what you need to move yourself forward. Hey, it's Mary Baker and welcome to episode 292, Letting Go to Move Ahead, EMDR Coaching for Life Change, my conversation with Coach Christine Roslund. Well, welcome back to this month where we're continuing our theme, Reclaiming Inner Safety. And this week, I'm so excited to be joined by my good friend, Christine Roslund. Christine is a coach, a therapist, and a certified EMDR practitioner who's been doing this work for over 15 years. And honestly, helping people get unstuck is her superpower. Whether it's old pain or limiting beliefs or patterns that just won't budge, I think Christine has this grounded, intuitive way of helping people move through it. Her clients often say they feel real relief, even after just one session. And what's so cool is she combines EMDR, coaching, and a deep emotional work to help people get clear on who they really are and what they're here to do. I think Christine is so warm and nurturing, but also honest and direct in the best way. She meets people where they are and helps them get to where they truly want to be. So let's not wait any longer. Here's my conversation with Christine. Well, Christine, thank you so much for being here. I know it's taken a while to get you on the show, and that's on me. And you and I met, I want to say, 2 years ago when you were doing a vision board workshop. And I did yours again this year, and it was amazing. And we met through a mutual friend who also went for neuro-linguistic programming training as well at the INLP Institute. And so I am so excited to finally have you on and to be in a mastermind with you because I'm learning so much. So first of all, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to hang out with me today.
Thank you, Mary. I really have been looking forward to doing this interview, and it's been so amazing getting to know you and having you be a part of the vision board groups and part of the mastermind group. And I'm just really happy to be here and to be a part of your program.
Oh, thank you. All right. So tell us how you got into coaching and what was your journey to get there and what brought you to this special coaching that you do for folks.
Sure. Ever since I was like a teenager and developing into my young adulthood, I kind of always had a desire to grow and learn more about myself and how to be kind of the best version of myself and try to make sense out of, how to manifest the kind of life that I want to have. And it first came from trying to understand, first of all, who I am and kind of understand the family that I came from and, kind of what the different options and possibilities are and what really interests me and what my values are and just who do I want to be? And I've kind of always taken an approach of, wondering, looking back on my life, like when the end of my life comes and thinking of that perspective, being happy that I lived the life that I wanted to live. So that's always kind of been a focus in my mind from a young age. And so I did a lot of things and it was hard for me to discover what I really wanted to be when I was like in my 20s. And so, I ended up being a travel agent and learning that in that process that I really got along well with helping people solve problems. And people really opened up and shared things with me. And so one thing kind of led to another that made me realize that I really wanted to help people and help people try to figure out them who they are and how they can live their best life. And so I decided that I wanted to go learn therapy and get deeper understandings of how people's psychology worked. And I also, while I was in my undergrad, took a minor in holistic studies. During that time that I learned that these exercises I was learning in my holistic study classes were really creating change in myself.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, wow, that's what I was hoping to learn, in regards to studying clinical psychology, but that was more theory. And the holistic studies was teaching me all these tools to create change. So by the end of my coursework in my undergrad, I realized I wanted to blend the two. So I found a school, JFK University, that had a program called Holistic Studies in Counseling Psychology. So I got to do my dream of combining the two of those things, which meant that it takes a holistic approach to doing counseling. And so that's very much like life coaching is in regards to kind of looking at the whole, your whole self, your whole life. And so, I started also learning about Tony Robbins, who's kind of the father of, life coaching.
Yeah.
And, I really got into going to some of his workshops and doing his programs and integrating that into my life. And it really allowed me to feel like I was moving towards these goals and it showed me kind of how I can get where I want to go in doing it in like baby steps and having a plan and teaching me all these skills. So once I became licensed as a marriage family therapist, I ended up doing a program that allowed me to get certified as a life coach. So that was about 20 years ago that I got certified as a life coach. And that was in alignment with kind of what I always wanted to do when I was in my late teens. But the one thing that really kind of was apparent in my 20s that I wanted to focus on when I was in my undergraduate school that interests me the most was how to create change in somebody, and how to kind of it's really hard for people to change, generally speaking. And so I just kind of always had this curiosity about, kind of what gets in the way of people being able to break maybe bad habits and how to kind of overcome things so you can reach your goals. And so in my journey as a therapist, I came across learning a technique called EMDR that stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. And this is a well-known modality of clearing trauma and PTSD. And it also, clears not only big traumas that you associate with PTSD, but small traumas. And small traumas, can be anything that happens that, trauma is defined by the person, not by the experience.
Right.
And so when somebody has been traumatized, they develop an irrational negative belief about themselves. A belief that isn't true, but it feels like it's true to the person. And so EMDR is a really amazing tool that I feel like gives me this superpower in helping people accomplish what I feel like I have to offer them, which is living from their core self and being true to themselves. And so EMDR is a technique that can clear and target traumas that have happened in the past, and in a really relatively painless and quick way, you get to the root of it and you get this generalized effect. So you don't have to clear all the times you keep having this trauma response, and you get to the root of it. And then once you clear that trauma and reprocess it so that you're not having that irrational negative belief anymore, instead you're having a corrective belief about the situation, then, it allows for you to not have that physiological reaction in your body that makes it really hard to overcome, so you can actually move forward in your life in all these different areas. So, for example, I can give you an example about how EMDR works. A really simple example to understand it might be getting in a car accident.
Okay.
And you're hearing a song on the radio right before you end up getting in a car accident. And you have a bad car accident and you think you're going to die, but you survive. So hearing that song after you're recovered from the car accident may be a trigger for some people, because, it's kind of part of the experience of going through that trauma. And so an irrational negative belief around that incident could be, I'm going to die. But that's irrational because you're alive still and you survived.
Right.
So, when you hear that song, you might end up having this feeling in your body that feels like you're going to die, but you know that you survived, but you don't have any control over not having that feeling. EMDR could clear that so that you don't have that feeling anymore and help you come to the belief that I survived and I'm okay. And, so when the song comes on, you're not going to have that visceral feeling in your body.
Right.
So, it's a really powerful tool. And so I really love EMDR because usually when you get to the core of the issue and we fully clear an issue, it stays gone. You don't have to redo it. If it's a complex trauma, there's going to be different things we need to EMDR, and it's more complex, but it still works in a pretty quick way given the situation, and given, the alternatives to a lot of other kinds of therapy. Well, the reason that I'm kind of talking about EMDR is because in life coaching, I take people through a program that helps them really identify where they're at, where they want to go, and how to get there. And part of the process is really being able to get some clarity and also tools to figure out kind of like where you're at and what needs to kind of get developed more, and what you've already lived and what might be blocking you. A lot of times, just being a human, we all had some trauma, even if it's just small traumas,
Right.
that interfere in our lives every day that we don't even maybe call trauma, but it's interfering. And so I get to integrate EMDR with my coaching to really help people clear those irrational negative beliefs about themselves so they can reach the goals that they're really wanting to create in their lives.
Thank you so much for explaining all of that for us, because I think it's really helpful. I think a lot of listeners might have heard about EMDR, but not quite sure what it does or what it doesn't do and its effectiveness. And then also how it's different from other talk therapy and how it's different from other kinds of coaching. Because in regular therapy, you can identify your negative beliefs, But then what I hear all the time is, well, Mary, how do I get rid of them? Right. And we know now as PTSD, especially, causes brain damage. We have to change the brain. We can't just change our mind. We have to also change the brain. And so I love your description. I think that's so helpful and really exciting how you brought this kind of superpower into life coaching.
Thank you.
And that's really cool.
Yeah. Well, it's just, been something that brings me so much, meaning and purpose in my life that I feel really grateful that I can help people, using this tool in really unbelievable ways.
Wow. So can you give us some examples in terms of how that would work with a client? Because I'm really curious as to how this works for some folks, like to see it in action. Can you describe some of that? That integration, like how you do your coaching with clients using your EMDR skill set, knowledge, and experience.
Exactly. So there's this thing that I teach most of my clients called resourcing that's really good at building neural networks that build your amygdala that makes you more resilient in your life. And it's also kind of phase one of doing EMDR. And this very simple exercise that I really see how it helps people with anxiety and just helps ground people, and just in and of itself is a really powerful tool. But it's also how I keep people safe when we actually get to doing the EMDR.
I see.
So it's good for them to kind of already have that tool practiced so that when we get to the point of doing the deeper EMDR, that they'll easily be able to access these places that I want them to be able to access. And so, but getting to the EMDR, when I start life coaching with somebody at the beginning, we're kind of like taking a snapshot image of where they're at in all these different aspects of their life. And I use a structured program that really kind of helps people get these tools. And it's a progression that happens, and it's a workbook that every section has a different objective. And like the first one is problem solving, decision making. The next one is really experiencing your values and what means the most to you, what's really important to you. And then the next one is really identifying the 8 most important aspects of your life and kind of really getting clear, like what would be your mission statements in regards to each of those. And then the next kind of chapters prior to creating your action plan, which is going to be a lot of goals and steps of how you're going to reach your goals in these different aspects of your life. First, we need to kind of go over your successes that you've experienced in your life and the obstacles you've had to overcome and kind of, how you've gotten to where you are. And then there's going to be a section that has to do with what's interfering with your getting what you want, moving into the future, and what's stopping you.
Right.
And that's where the EMDR comes in, that I really help clear those things that need to be cleared in order to be able to really achieve in a relatively easy way the goals that you're wanting to move towards and be able to embrace all the positivity to come into your life.
Wow. That sounds so exciting.
Yeah.
Sign me up. So you've had some great success helping people with this too, haven't you?
Yeah. It's really unbelievable how it works, even from the moment that people say that they want to start life coaching and when they feel really like it's time and they're committed and really ready for it. That's when I see the best success. And I mean, it's kind of bizarre how it happens. Like, it's almost like the universe kind of responds, like once somebody commits and things start changing almost immediately.
Wow.
And, I can't even describe the things that I've seen happen in people's lives as a result of doing that.
Wow. Do you have some examples of some folks that you've helped?
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of examples and, I'm just wrapping up with, somebody I've been, doing that with, and she was really ready to take this on because, she just really wanted some structure and she wanted to get clear and get focused on, what really does she need to zero in on? And so I was really able to kind of like have great success with her because she was really ready for that. And so basically we did some EMDR, like in regards to her business stuff, because she really wanted to kind of shift away from being kind of a workaholic. And she's into real estate. And so she wanted to kind of shift how she was working in that field. And in the time that I've been working with her, she's been able to completely master her goals. And near the end of the life coaching program, it's about staying on top of revisiting your goals and seeing where you've come and if any of the goals need to change, because it's really about creating this to be a work in progress and you want to keep it going. So like when your goals are going to change over time. And so, we've just completed, going over how much she's growing and how new goals are starting to kind of evolve from it. But she's just been really pleased in regards to the success. Like she can't believe how she's not, as accommodating necessarily to people like she was before, because she was always kind of focusing on helping others more than herself. So learning to say no is a good example, but not like so that she's not going to be there for the people she cares about, how to be there for people in a healthy way. And so she was just like, couldn't go on and on enough about just how invaluable this work has been for her. Mm-hmm. And so, actually, the next time we meet, we're going to have kind of like a celebration, and she's going to be tapering off to just having like maintenance, like once a month with me, because, she's kind of come and got what she wants, but she still wants to check in and stay on top of it. So she's decided that she wants to continue seeing me once a month. It's just maintenance.
That's really great. Yeah. So really you helped her get out of her own way in terms of what she wanted.
Exactly.
And to learn how to prioritize what she needs. And that's amazing. And to not abandon herself. Because again, folks can go to therapy and they can also go to regular life coaching and identify what's going on. But it's about how do you really remove those obstacles? That's the kicker. And that's where the results come in. And that is what I see as your superpower in terms of helping people who are ready. Now, who would be the perfect person to come work with you? Like, so the listeners know, whether they're ready to do this work with you or not. Like, describe for me what that is. How do they know they're ready for life coaching?
Right. Yes. Well, first of all, I think if you're feeling stuck or lost kind of in your life as to what direction you want to go and going through transitions, that can be a great time to do life coaching also, to really help you feel like there's some structure to kind of where you're moving into and how you want it to get set up and how to just kind of tweak it to be really in alignment with who you are and where you're at this time and place in your life. Yeah. So those would be people that want to grow and want to learn about themselves, and people that want to figure out how to get where they want to go and put that kind of energy and focus on themselves and don't know where to begin doing that.
Right.
This is a great place to start, because you're going to learn so much about yourself and you're going to feel a lot more empowered if you clear the blocks, and you're just going to be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel, I think, when you commit to this process.
Wow. Thank you. So that gives people a sense of, okay, are they ready for that? Or, a lot of people might hear EMDR and think, well, wait a minute. What if I have big trauma that I have not done any therapy around? What would you recommend? They want to do life coaching eventually, but maybe they have some big stuff.
Right. Yeah, I would recommend that they do therapy first in that situation, because if, that trauma is not cleared, and it's really going to be difficult to, I think, focus on the future without having that interfere. So, if there are specific things that you need to resolve that are related to your past, and you're stuck, you're feeling really kind of stuck in your past, I think that might mean that therapy could serve you better to kind of resolve those issues.
Okay.
Even though there are, I'm sure, overlapping things too. So sometimes you might be able to benefit from life coaching if, you still need to learn some relationship skills and that kind of thing too. But if it's really interfering in your life and, causing you a lot of pain, and depression, I would say therapy would be the way to go to get very stabilized.
Okay.
And then, you'll benefit more from life coaching when you're ready. That helps you get ready for life coaching.
That's a great way to explain it. Thank you. Because it can be confusing. There is a lot of overlap between therapy and coaching. And you and I have talked about that. And if it's confusing for us sometimes, you can imagine how it is for folks out there. And I think there's more and more overlap happening out there as well, and so it is good for listeners to hear the difference is that if you're not functioning very well, then you might need to do some therapeutic work. And then when you're in that space where you've healed some things, what I'm hearing you say, and I totally agree with you, is you still need to figure out how to move forward in your life. And there's a lot of skills-based stuff with that. There's a lot of, practicing setting boundaries. And a big piece of coaching is accountability, like loving, filled with grace and tough love accountability, right? That when your therapy is done, where are you? Who's there to support you? Because left to your own devices, you're probably going to do the same old things or revert back to old patterns. And so I think the accountability piece is huge in life coaching. Just like the client you mentioned a moment ago, the research shows that once you've gotten things in a better place, it really is helpful to check in with someone once a month to see where you are, see where you're going, see how things, are happening to you, for you, and have you been sticking to your guns in terms of your goals, right? Or have you regressed a little bit? Has life showed up and hit the fan? So I love that piece. And I love how you help people also change their brain, though. And so I'm putting you on the spot, but could you talk a little bit more about not just what's happening in their beliefs, but how is their brain changing with the EMDR coaching, which is also changing their mind, if that makes sense?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I can talk about it, actually best from the EMDR point of view and trauma, because even, the smaller traumas, when someone has trauma stuck inside them, it's in the right part of their brain, in these frozen snapshot-like images in your memory. bank.
Mm.
And the left part of your brain knows the reality of situations. And so anyone that has trauma has an irrational negative belief about themselves. So, for example, like if you're a kid and your parent wouldn't give you what you wanted really badly as a kid, one kid might internalize that, well, I'm bad or I'm undeserving because they're not giving me what I want. Well, another kid will just let it slide off them. And so that could be seen as a small trauma. If that
Wow.
child kind of wanted it that bad that it got stuck in them, that like I'm undeserving or I'm bad. And so that like irrational negative belief that, you know, maybe the parent didn't have the money for it or they didn't have the time to spend or whatever it is. But EMDR would go and we would go to that target to unlock those frozen snapshot like images in the right part of your brain and integrate what's in the left part of your brain, the reality of the situation. So when I take somebody back to the trauma, we go back to the root of where it came from.
Mm-hmm.
And with this protocol and with, you know, my giving direction, I help you be able to desensitize that irrational negative belief so the truth comes through. So for example, instead of I'm bad, by the end of the EMDR session, you're going to realize, oh, you know, well, I was just a kid and my parents had all these responsibilities. And it wasn't that they didn't love me and care about me.
Right.
You know, it was just that they didn't have the resources to give me what I wanted at the time. So, you know, the irrational negative belief that I'm bad or I'm undeserving turns into I'm good. You know, it has nothing to do with me, that situation. And it also makes you maybe even have compassion for your parent. So it allows you to feel like I'm okay, at least, and I am deserving. So, I mean, that's just a small little snippet of how powerful EMDR can be. And that these irrational negative beliefs can stick with you for decades. And people don't understand that they're carrying them around. And so, you know, that's the beauty of EMDR, because when you can identify these irrational negative beliefs that we all have on some level, just because being a human being, we've all had small traumas in our lives or disappointments.
Right.
That when we clear those, it really allows for a different perception of life. And it stays gone. And, you know, instead of feeling undeserving and feeling like you do deserve is like night and day.
That's amazing. Thank you for that. That's a great illustration. Very helpful.
Good.
I could even picture that as you were talking. And to me, hearing that, it's like all the work we do on visualization and affirmations, and all those things are very good and very powerful, but they're not as sustaining as what you're describing, right? So that's really magical to me, because what a lot of people say is, well, I haven't been doing that. I kind of fell off the horse. I haven't been doing my affirmations, and I'm reverting back because the brain is wired for self-protection and negativity, right?
Right. Exactly. And, you know, that's why I love EMDR so much, you know, because it's the thing that allows me from ever since I was a teenager to really, you know, have a tool that really creates change in people that is lasting, that's, you know, not high maintenance, like a lot of the affirmations and a lot of the other tools. They don't get to the root of the trauma to clear it. And then once we clear it using the EMDR, you don't need to do anything else. There's no maintenance involved.
Whoa.
And, you know, I'm totally into kind of having things be efficient and, you know, easy, you know, and low maintenance.
Right.
And so that's why I love what I do.
That's amazing. I think you just took away all of the obstacles that people would initially have to actually doing any of the life coaching work, right? Like, oh, this is going to be a slog and I got to keep up with it every day and all the things. And you're saying, no, that you do this, you change it. And we know now the neuroscience is here today to back up everything that you're saying. And that's what is so cool, right? The woo woo has always been right, but now we know why it's right. And so that is just incredible. And to me, if you're listening, if you feel stuck, if you have some big transitions coming up in your life or going on right now, and like a lot of people share with me, they've done therapy and they've even done some life coaching where people just kind of, I'm going to be nice. I'm going to be nice to myself as a therapist and a coach too, and say, they just listened to me, Mary, and they kind of expected me to solve my own problems. And I didn't really get anywhere. And it was really frustrating. And so why should I try this again kind of thing? And I think that we need structure, like your program has structure, which is really good because that helps with our anxiety and helps us have a way forward, right? That's really important because if we do have those negative beliefs, one of them is, I don't even know how to do this. And I don't even know how to start. And then you also are giving people a way to make things actually happen in a relatively short period of time. And so that is huge. And also just your wisdom and your experience and how you help people feel safe too. So to me, that combination is a big deal, which is one of the reasons why I really wanted to have you on the show. Because I want people to get to know you and I want people to call you up and start working with you.
Thank you, Mary. I really appreciate that. And likewise, I respect the work you do, and you're an amazing coach and therapist. And I just am so grateful that our mutual friend brought us together because I just feel like it's so refreshing being able to meet with somebody who does the same thing and same.
Yes. Yes, that's great. And so thank you. And I'm just so tickled to have you here finally. So how can people find you, Christine? Where should we send them? And guys, the links will be in the show notes as well. But where can they find you to start working with you?
Yeah, you can find me on Substack, and my name is going to be Being True to You with a 2. So it's Being True, the number 2, and then you, Y-O-U, spelled out. And yeah, that's where you can find me and ask me questions and reach out. And, I'm available to do a free 20-minute consultation and would be really happy to meet you and get together and find out what you're looking for and if I can help you. And if not, I can try to find somebody else that can.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that could be a big piece too. And you're there to help people no matter where they are in the world, which is wonderful. They can reach out and connect with you and get their thing going. And like you said, if for some reason you're not the fit for them, that you'll help them find the people. And that's a big piece too, that we're here to help people get where they need to be, which is why we do this work.
Exactly. Yes.
Well, thank you so much for being here again. I definitely want to have you on the show like 7 more times so we can talk about, some more successes that you're finding that people are having in this work with you.
Absolutely.
Because I think it's really helpful for clients to see themselves and others like, oh, that's me, or that's what I struggle with too. And hey, maybe that might work for me kind of thing. Because as you know, learning and listening is how we get started with the work on ourselves. And then if we can see what resonates with us in terms of the next step.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And I am totally here to try to help. Whoever has any questions, please reach out. And I think that it's going to, in this, time and space that we're living, that this is a really important thing to be focusing your energy on and helping you become the best version of yourself, because it's kind of crazy times right now. And this could be where it all starts, is being grounded within yourself and knowing yourself and figuring out who you want to be and how to make that happen.
Wow. Well said. Yes. Thank you so much, Christine, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, Mary.
Well, thank you, Christine. I'm so glad you were able to finally join me today and that my listeners had a chance to hear just how successful, because she really is doing an amazing job in her life coaching to help people change. So make sure you reach out and connect with her. The link is right there in the show notes. So today I was joined finally by my friend Christine Roslund, who is an experienced coach, therapist, and EMDR practitioner. And we talked about how she has blended her years of EMDR therapy with life coaching to help her clients clear those deep blocks and reconnect with their true selves. She shared some great insights on what healing can really look like and why getting unstuck doesn't have to mean reliving the old pain and maintaining all of the affirmations in the work. She talked about how she helps people move forward with a lot of clarity and purpose. And I'm just so grateful that she's out here doing this work. All right, so check out all the courses in the show notes. If you need anything, reach out. You can find me on Substack. You can find Christine on Substack. It's a great community over there. Check it out. All right, so pay it forward. Keep focusing on you, and I'll see you next time.
We hope you took away some useful insights and tools you can begin using right away. If you did, please leave a positive review and share on your social media. Because could you imagine if everyone in your life really got it together? Remember, own it now, so you can really own it later.